sports, 100% reflective. Sometimes it's Raven. Sometimes it's other teams affected. Hold on tight, strap in. It's gonna get hectic. Couch Rider Report, an original sports perspective. Hey, welcome back to the home of original sports perspective. From our couch to yours, this is your couch writer Raven, your host Jermaine Lockett. What's happening, y'all? Thanks for rocking with your boy. If you're new here, hey, guess what? We don't shake it for subs here. We don't shake it for subs. No. I'm serious, y'all. I'm not getting down like that. Y'all want to subscribe? Cool. Appreciate you. Thanks for coming through. For those of you who are new, we just talk about Baltimore Ravens just at a different perspective here. There's so many other good YouTubers out there, and I feel like I bring my own little flavor to the bunch here, whether I'm doing stuff with green screen or just hanging out, shooting the stuff about the Baltimore Ravens. Just having a good time is what it's really all about here. It's just following the dream, being able to just do what I do, talk football, because my whole mantra is faith, family, and football. Anyway, let's get to it. I'm scrolling through. I'm on the We Are the Ravens Flock Talk, and I hear a guy he's making a comparison, trying to get Hollywood Brown some credit or some respect on his name because he made the comparison to Mark Andrews, saying, hey, he's just as good as Mark Andrews. I'm sorry, what? He's looking at the stats, and he thinks that Hollywood Brown is just as good as Mark Andrews based on the stats that are on display. But he's not looking deeper than the surface level. If he's looking past the surface level, he sees that Hollywood Brown played 16 games. Mark Andrews played 14 games. 2 of those he was out because COVID. Yeah, Hollywood was able to go through and make a couple more stats and still only got 760-something yards, 769 yards. And then you have Mark Andrews, who played 14 games and still was able to get 700 yards. But even all of that aside, let's look at it like this. In the NFL, if you're looking at a player or looking at a position group and you're like, all right, when it comes to tight ends, does Baltimore have a tight end in the top 5, arguably top 5 in the NFL? The answer is yes, it's Mark Andrews. But does Baltimore in the NFL have a top 5 or even top 10 wide receiver in the NFL right now? Based off of last year's stats, you can go in career stats, whatever. Does Baltimore have a top 5 or top 10 wide receiver in the NFL? No, they don't. There's a reason that Rashad Bateman was drafted. It's because right now Baltimore has a bunch of 2s. And I know they're probably not going to like this, but it's the truth. We're here to speak the truth. Let the truth set you free. That Baltimore has a bunch of 2s, and until they prove something this season, the wide receivers are just 2s. Andrews is a top tier tight end. You can't compare the two because Andrews got a dog in him. He has a dog in him. I was looking at some of the plays because I know he was talking about the number of drops, and I was going to show you some film study, but I was like, hey, this is 5 drops. This is 5 drops. And I know that at least 2 of those drops were against Kansas City on Mark Andrews. And they say sometimes he doesn't show up in big games. And so I had to go take a look at that, and that might actually be a little bit legit. At least it was against the Chiefs. I want to see more production. I want to see big time plays in big time games. That's what big players do. They make those type of plays. They move the chain. They really help your team out in a clutch situation. I want to see that out of Mark Andrews. That's the only knock I had. And then you got Hollywood Brown. They say, hey, he's playoff Hollywood. Okay, he showed up twice against the same team in the Tennessee Titans. First time he showed up against the Titans, it was pretty much, the game might have been a lot out of hand. It might have been out of hand. Lamar had over 500 yards total offense, whether it be through the ground or through the air. He was full on FedExing it up. And Hollywood was a benefactor of that. So he had a pretty big game. Kudos. Good stuff. And then, of course, Hollywood's next big game over 100 yards was against Tennessee. His other 2 games, I think one was against Miami, and I think the other one was against Cincinnati. He's had some solid games, but you want to see more than just 4 games of over 100 yards if we're talking about a top-tier wide receiver. Like I said, Hollywood is ranked 17th in the league right now, according to what his receptions rank was. Guess who was right underneath him at number 16? Julio. Julio was injured, I get it. But at the same time, they sitting there right around each other in yards. And that should let you know, like, hey, if Julio wasn't injured, Julio numbers would be going up. And Hollywood's had a full season to get 769 yards, which is 17th ranked in the NFL. He had 8 touchdowns, which is 19th ranked in the NFL. So just think about it. When it comes to wide receivers, Baltimore they were in need. I see why y'all were talking about why you wanted Julio. But I'll be honest with you, I still wasn't on the Julio bandwagon. Go check out my video. We got Julio at home. It's a short. It only takes a couple of seconds. I'll put the link up there. But what I want you to see is that Andrews is top 5 in his position when it comes to just about everything. 5 or 6 when it comes to receptions, touchdowns, fantasy points, Yards per game, total yards on the season, all of it is top 5, top 10 type material. And when you think about the top tight ends in the league, I'm telling you, the dude is in that area. We talking, hey, you got Kittle and Kelsey as 1A, 1B up there. Kittle did not have a solid season due to injuries. And then you got Darren Waller. Right behind him, honestly, it should be Mark Andrews. And then Gesicki and the rest of them other cats, whatever. But Mark Andrews should be that 3 or 4th tight end in the league. And he should be paid like that as well. So hopefully, ADC's got that checkbook ready and making smart decisions, because Baltimore definitely needs to get their number 1 chain mover paid for sure. I say number 2 chain mover, because we already know Lamar is that number 1 chain mover, whether it be through the ground or through the air. He's FedExing it up for sure. But I want you to also think about this. Andrews is top 20 all time when it comes to Ravens receptions. Already, he's number 12 on the list. He's the number 2 tight end for Ravens reception. I think that's pretty awesome. He's number 2 on the list as far as tight ends in touchdown. Of course, behind Todd Heap, he's got 20. 4th on the list of all wide receivers for the Baltimore Ravens. Or excuse me, of all wide receivers, he's actually 4th on the list as far as all receivers, should I say. Reception yards per game. This man has 46.8 per game. He's number 2 in the league. Or excuse me, number 2 on the Baltimore Ravens all-time receptions per game. And he's only behind Shannon Sharpe. Career receptions, he's in the top 20. He's number 13. And then Hollywood is 25th. But Hollywood is also he was in his 2nd year, so now he's in his 3rd year. So Hollywood's coming. He's coming up. He's developing. I'm not saying anything bad about Hollywood. I'm just saying stop making the comparison to Mark Andrews when we're talking about just the type of players, or that Hollywood deserves some respect on his name. If you want to put some respect on his name, go compare him to some of the top players in the league. Go even just get to the position groups, get to the size, get to the type, whether it's an X receiver, whether it's a Z receiver, whatever. Make those comparisons that way. Don't go pick the top 5 tight end in the league and make a comparison to your wide receiver. This is the home of Original Sports Perspective. From our couch to yours. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe, smack that bell so you know when it's going down. Y'all take care, have a good night, and enjoy that Marvel movie. I think it just came out. Peace.